It's finally time. So hi, for those of you who don't know, my name is Silvitrine. I am an artist, a graphic novelist, a animator, a Twitch streamer, and I also run my own Etsy shop. And I know that's a lot, but I just really have fun creating, so I do a little bit of everything. Here on this channel, Sil's Writing Room, I usually do vlogs related to what I'm doing in a particular week, related to certain projects. I've got ones for my animation channel, which is Nobila Studios. It'll be tagged in the description. I do ones related to my graphic novel, Forget Me Not Astral Miria, which is a sequel to my existing graphic novel. I have some related to making Etsy products, and I'm just all over the place. So if you're interested in any of the other stuff that I do, like the streaming, the artwork, the animations, stuff like that, all of the socials related to that stuff is going to be in the description. Today, I'm talking about something that I've hinted in my vlogs for a really long time. Really long time. I've only been doing vlogs for like a month, but in that whole month, I've been hinting at something very special. I am, as of the point of recording this video, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks out from dropping the biggest Etsy product that I have ever made, and I'm so excited. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush, I'm not gonna make it some big epic reveal. I'm gonna tell you right now, I am releasing plushies. For those of you who have seen my Twitch streams or my VODs or even some of my clips on Silvitrine Twitch, which is one of my other YouTube channels, you may recognize this little guy that I have on the screen, my text-to-speech bot. His name is Rocher, and he is an original species that I have created and been developing since 2016, known as the Snoo. I have been working really hard to develop the Snoo for a very long time, including what they look like, the conventions around designing your own Snoo, the lore, a whole bunch of stuff. They are related to a different project that I'm working on, an animated pilot known as The Fairy's Tale. They are creatures that reside within that universe, but at the same time, they have enough degrees of separation where they can kind of be their own thing. You don't really need to know what a Snoo is to appreciate Snoo, but if you want, there is extra information regarding them, which I haven't released yet, but I will be releasing very soon. And so, yeah, this is an idea that I've been working on for maybe a year. It's been definitely like in the works for about a year, but I didn't start developing it like properly until maybe like 4 months ago, because the place that I was living at the time, there wasn't any like space for them. I didn't have like any proper like marketing like prepped or anything. I had no idea what I was doing, and I wanted to wait until we settled into our new place to have everything like kind of set in motion. So about 4, maybe 5 months they've been in development, and they're almost here. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divide this video into a couple of parts. The first part is gonna be talking about the like origin of the Snoo, kind of like some of the lore that I've put together, how to make your own like design conventions and stuff like that, at least the stuff that I'm willing to share currently. And then the second half of the video, for people who are interested, is going to be the design process and how we kind of went from the finalized concept of the Snoo to this plush toy. So I think that's going to be really fun. I'm hoping to put it all in one video, just like 2 parts of one video, but if it gets a little bit too long, then I will probably do like a part 1 and a part 2 to this video. Rocher is also not the only Snoo that you can get in this collection. I have 2 other ones, which I'm going to be showing later in the video. But their names are Dewdrop and Nougat, and I'm so excited. These are going to be limited runs. So like I've got 300 of each unit, and once these 300 are gone, they're gone. Like that's it. I'm not going to be doing reorders, because I'm going to be designing new Snoos, and then once these 300 are gone, they're going to make room for new Snoo designs. So this is going to be a very limited collection, but I'm just so keen. So I'm gonna start rambling if I continue this clip. So we're just gonna go on into the next bit. I have to dig up my sketchbooks so that I can talk about the history of the Snoos now. Hey, Editing Sylv here. I just needed to take a moment to acknowledge that as of right now, the pre-orders for the Snuus are actually officially open. You can check them out on my Etsy store, restlessdreams.etsy.com. They're currently only 25 Australian dollars per unit, and once the pre-orders close, they're going to go up to 35 Australian per unit. So if you want one now, is definitely the best time to get one. Each snoo is going to come with a little card that's going to have their name and a little bit about their personality as well. So you get to learn a little bit more about the snoo that you're adopting once you adopt them. I am so excited. Thank you everyone so much for taking time to watch this video. Let's get on to the actual video part now. Okay, so I've gone digging. I found a couple of sketchbooks. This is the first one. I've been parading around that I've been working on Snuus since 2016. Going through my big box of sketchbooks, that is actually not true. I haven't been working on them. I only started in 2018. The reason why I thought it was 2016 is because in 2016 and 2017, I was working on a couple of different species, and those ones never took off. The Snuus are the ones that took off, so that's why I thought it was 2016, but actually it's 2018, and this is the first book. So this is a creative drawing class that I did back in university. It was actually related to a weekly task. It says, what does it say? Draw two animals mashed together, right? And then show the skeleton. I don't have the skeleton drawn here. I think I might have done it in class. Maybe it's like I was just working on the wings and stuff. But I think I mixed, what does it say? Like, I wanted to mix a fox and a bird, and I think I ended up with this. And I have no idea what this is because it's got deer antlers, like fucking hooves, there's a tail, but there's no wings. So I don't know what mishmash of creatures this is, but this was originally for a creative drawing assignment. And then on the next page, I drew a more polished version of it. It's still got the hooves, it's still got the antlers, it's got the ears that the Snuus for a while had quite iconically. And I honestly don't remember the idea of the Snuus coming from a creative drawing project in university. That's actually fucking wild that I didn't remember that. Holy shit. We don't see anything related to that creature again until like the end of the sketchbook, because the rest of this is like dedicated to the actual creative drawing class. And the last few pages, I had finished the class, but I hadn't finished the sketchbook. So this is the next instance we see of it. It's still got the horns. You're starting to get the distinguished like chest fluff and tail fluff. The eyes are hollowed out. I'm not sure why. And it's got this kind of like pointed shape, which I was constantly flipping back and forth on. So this is where the Snuus started. It's so bizarre to think that I didn't remember the origin point of the Snuus, but this is where we started. This is a completely different sketchbook, first of all. Second of all, this is when I wanted to start incorporating the idea of bunnies into the Snuus. Specifically this one, I will say is Snoo-like. These are just rabbits with wings. But I'll say this one was kind of the starting point because I do have Snuus that I haven't shown yet in the works that do have wings for ears. This was a very core like element of it. And then we get this. And he's so cute, chat. Isn't he adorable? I just called you guys chat. Sorry, I'm hardcore streamer brained. But isn't he just the cutest little fluffy guy? Look at how long his ears are. He's got the cute little button eyes. This is where the horns become the antenna, and from here on out, they stay antenna, at least for the main Snoo, Rocher. Some of them still have horns, but we're starting, look, there's a side view, we're starting to take shape here. This is still 2018. There's some more little babies. This pose in particular is so cute. I don't know what the stanky leg is doing back here, but if you cover up that leg, that pose is actually adorable. I love the little button eyes. Oh, this sketch brings me back to simpler times. I also can't tell if he still has the hooves or if that's just me like shortening his leg or like making his leg longer. I'm not entirely sure, but I remember they had hooves for a while. And here he is, the first quote-unquote finalized Snoo. So I can see the hooves are gone. I must have brought them back in a later rendition. But look, magic, yes, domesticated, common pets for the noble blood fairies, which was a different series I was working on at the time. They harness the same magic as the fairies, but on a smaller scale. They love swimming and are often found in forests. Not a lot of this is still intact. They are magical, they are domesticated, and they do love the water. But there are a lot of things that have changed, especially down here when you get into the basic lore. Created by the fairies so they could have animal companions that live as long as them, about 1,000 years. Non-fairies with these pets tend to pass them down for generations. So this is mostly true for this for the current like lore of the Snuus, except they weren't like created by the fairies. Sorry. They weren't created by the fairies in my current lore. They just kind of live alongside the fairies in the magical ecosystem that they share. So that's different. There's also a couple of other things that I don't want to get into for spoiler territory, but we got our first look at the finalized Snoo, and then immediately I start playing with the idea again. So like here's the traditional kind of like furry face, and then I immediately bring back this like pointed shape. I don't know why, I just really, really like the idea of being able to implement this pointed shape, and I played around with this shape on and off for a really long time. But that's the first, like, quote-unquote official Snoo, like, spread. They still hadn't even been named Snoos at this point. As you can see, name is blank. This is when I start bringing the horns back, not the horns, sorry, the hooves back, playing around, giving them bigger eyes and smaller noses, trying to make them a bit more bug-like. I don't know why this one has a hole in its chest. And this is where we get the name Snoo. I don't really want to talk about the origins of the name Snoo because it came from someone who later in my life proceeded to do some very terrible things to me, but this is where it came from back in, I think this is the start of 2018, like around March, April, May, kind of. And so they've finally got their name, the Snoo. Very briefly tried playing with a Snoo that's like bipedal, didn't like it. I don't think I've touched that idea since. But this is like the first like proper formal spread that we've got. And it's just, I really like the big eyes. I think I got rid of them eventually and then brought them back for the final design, but I love the big eyes. The tail has also gone through a really big change. If you remember in the original sketches, it had like a really long like fox tail. And then here, the tail puffs back up. It's so interesting. And then in the original lore and in the current lore, this Snoo, Rocher, this is Rocher, by the way. All these sketches of like this is Rocher specifically. This is my text-to-speech bot currently. And so yeah, his lore is that he is the pet to fairy princess Alita. She does not look like this anymore. Very similar, but not the same. And so I drew Rocher with his parent. And then finally, I think this is the final part of the traditional art Snooze. But this is in 2019. I was doing a convention with a friend of mine at the time, and I really, really wanted to draw some Snooze. I thought they were really cute. There's a whole bunch of them here. Like, look at all of these. I just drew Snooze over and over and over again. And I think at this point, I had shown my university friends the Snooze. And like we were in a D&D campaign, and one of them, the DM, loved the Snoo so much that he asked me if he could put the Snooze in, or at least a Snoo in our D&D campaign. This is all smudged because of you never see it coming over there. But yeah, I drew up a bunch of Snooze. Rocher ended up being in that D&D campaign. He was my pet familiar. And then I ended up, for the convention, digitalizing these drawings and turning them into stickers for said convention. So that's why I think these are the last of the traditional Snooze. I think from this point on, any edits that I made to their designs happen digitally. But I will check some of the newer sketchbooks and we'll see. Okay, no, I found a really quick sketch where I was playing with how their fluff grows, which I think is adorable. Look at this little snowman.
And then I also found some drawings of this like cow character that I don't remember making or drawing at all. And I drew like a cute little doodle of this cow creature with a snoo. And then on the other page, I also drew this cow creature hanging out with a snoo. So I don't know who this cow is, but they really like hanging out with my snoo. All right, so now we're on to the digital stuff. So before I show off how I came to be doing the snooze the way I currently do them, I show off the digital renders of those snoo stickers that I said that I had done. So there's a lot of these. I think there's like, actually no, there's only like 5 of them, but I really enjoyed them. They were really fun, and even though people didn't know what this creature was, they still bought the stickers, which made me really happy. I really appreciated that. So if you've got one of these like stickers, then you are the owner of an original Snoo. Eventually, Snooze needed a little bit of an overhaul. I wasn't really happy with how they were looking. I wanted to make them cutesy. I wanted to make them smaller. And they just needed more. And so eventually we landed on this. They kept the hooves in the back, but they've got paws in the front now. The eyes are a lot bigger. But other than that, it remained mostly unchanged. The thing that I remember feeling about this design was now that it's in the new art style, it felt really bland design-wise. And so we started experimenting with adding embellishments and like cute little fluff markings. And I think this design is so cute. Rochelle ended up looking like this for a really long time. I used to have a starting soon screen that had like me at the computer with Rochelle next to me. And it's actually my desktop screen. So as you can see, Rochelle looked like this for a really long time. There was a little bit of time where we were experimenting with making them even more colorful and even more bright, and so we eventually did this to them. But this design did not stick at all. I really don't like how the yellow clashes with the brown of the fur. I think if we had maybe gone for a different accent color, like purple and maybe like a light pink, or maybe if we even kept the green, I feel like it wouldn't be that much of an issue. But this design did not stick. We really did not like this one. We also did a little bit of experimentation with distribution of the fluff and how the fluff grows, kind of like we did with the old designs. And what is a Snoo redesign if it's not drawn next to his precious little mum, Alita? So cute. At this point, I thought I had perfected the Snoo design, and so I went ahead and started making different variations. These were based on like different seasons. So you've got desert, the snowflower Snoos, and the semi-aquatics. This was supposed to be like summer, winter, spring, and then the standard Snoo would be the autumn Snoo. We took a bunch of notes. Not all of this is relevant right now, so I'm not going to read through it, but I started going really, really in depth with these Snoo charts. I even made a page dedicated to the snowflower Snoo in terms of how the fluff is distributed, how much fluff it can have, possible like manes and different forms of antennae. And then I realized that I had to do this for all of the Snoos, and I was not keen on it. Eventually, I realized that this design was also just not giving. Like, something was missing from this. I always wanted the Snooze to be at least a little bit reminiscent of bugs and moths, and they just never have. They're always like deer or puppies or like some other type of mammal. And so one day, with no warning whatsoever, I just kind of hard pivoted and experimented with like how I could push this design, and we ended up with this. This is still not final. There were some anatomy changes like the head size and the limb size, but for the most part, this is the finished Rocher the Snoo. I absolutely fell in love with this design, and I really liked the autumn, winter, spring, summer like gimmick that I had going, so I tried to create more Snoos that had the same energy as this new Rocher design, and I tried to do the season thing again. This is also no longer relevant. This is not important to Snoo lore. The only part that is relevant to the Snoo lore these days is the fur pattern stuff. So the most important thing is this: Snuus can come in a variety of colors and saturations and patterns, not exclusive to any other breeds. That is relevant because now there are no multiple breeds of Snoo, there is just the base Snoo. And then we get to something called magic coloring, and this is where kind of the lore of the Snoo comes in. I'm not going to go too in depth with Snoo lore, but I will explain this to you guys so that you guys can start making your own Snoos. So basically, the hierarchy of magical capability is color-based, with green being the weakest, and the closest to the color red you get, the stronger your magic ability is. Red Snoos and pink Snoos, and for the most part, like most orange Snoos, are basically like illegal. I don't really want people making those kind of Snoos because of how strong they are. You can only get one if I give one to you. But everything onwards is pretty much fair game, and it basically just correlates to the kind of magical ability your Snoo can have, because each Snoo, on top of having like magical essence in them, has at least one magical trait. So Roche's is that he is able to generate plant life wherever he sneezes. He could sneeze on the ground, he could sneeze on like concrete, tiles, doesn't matter. If he sneezes, then there'll be a whole bunch of plant life that basically immediately sprouts from where he sneezes. And then basically the eye color, the wing color, and the tail color and the antenna color, those like 4 traits are how you determine what magic level a Snoo is. They need to have at least 2 of those traits be a matching color, if that makes sense. So for example, this is the easiest example. This is Nougat. This is one of the Snoo plushies that I'm going to be launching. His eyes, horns, wings, and tail are all purple, so he would be considered a purple level Snoo. Same thing with Dewdrop over here. This is the other Snoo that I'm going to be launching in the plushie line. As you can see, his eyes, the tip of his antenna, the ends of his wings, and it's not visible here, but his tail are all blue, so he is a blue magic level Snoo. I feel doing it this way is a lot more freeing because now the body of the Snoo can basically be whatever color, whatever fur pattern you desire. The only restriction you have is making sure that at least 2 of those 4 accessory elements are like the same color so that it's easy to determine what magic level they are. And it allows you to get really creative. So this is a Snoo that I gave to my friend Churgo, and as you can see, her eyes are actually completely covered by her bangs. So you have to tell from her tail color and from the colors on her wings that she would be considered a yellow level Snoo because of this blonde color she's got going on. We were originally also going to do muzzle variations, so this is the classic muzzle that every Snoo has, but we were also going to do some like other bug and in this case spider-like ones as well. These didn't stick. I don't particularly like these ones, but eventually we might end up reworking them and bringing them back into the Snoo line. But for now, it's just this adorable little muzzle. Their lore is still that they live alongside fairies and they have a lifespan to match that of a fairy's, but other than that and how you're supposed to color one when it comes to making a lore-accurate Snoo, there's not that much that I want to give away just yet. So for now, I suppose we'll get into the process of actually designing and ordering the plushies. I hope you guys really like the background story of how the Snoos have come to be because I just love these little guys so much. Like, if I'm feeling a little bit too overwhelmed or too stressed or I'm feeling burnt out, I literally just either pick up my screen tablet or pick up like my sketchbook and I go, you know what, let's design a brand new Snoo, and it just makes me so happy. So I hope you guys love them. Now onto the plushie making process. So once the Snoos were designed properly and I had some designs that I was happy with and that I wanted to make plushies out of, the sketches that I had simply weren't enough. I had to dive a little bit deeper. I'm not going to talk about how I found my manufacturer because I just went on Alibaba and talked to a couple of people until I found a company that could do what I thought I needed for my Snoos. But I am going to go over like the back and forth and some of the stuff that I have talked about with my manufacturer, some of the pictures that we've sent back and forth, and just kind of show you what's going on, what's happening behind the scenes. So first of all, once I had some designs that I was really happy with, I needed to do some proper turnarounds. So I knew I wanted the snooze to stand up like this. So I did a front view, a back view, a side view, and just this regular 3/4 view. I did also give them some Pantones, but I told them that these Pantones were not one-to-one because unfortunately I do not have a Pantone kit. Actually, I'll show you what I did in order to find these Pantones. I would literally get the hex code that I was using to color in my snooze. I would pop it in here and it would give me the closest Pantones that it could find. And then I would copy the hex code of the Pantone and color in my snooze on my Clip Studio paint file to see how close these Pantones were. It was a very, very long process. I did this on stream, not with my snooze, but with a different design that I had made. And it was a fucking nightmare. So that was how I got the Pantones for my snooze. I would not recommend doing this. I would recommend actually going out and getting the Pantones, maybe getting them from a local library. But I had no other option. So I drew these turnarounds. I gave recommended Pantones. I told them to just pick whatever Pantones they think suit the picture best, and if these Pantones don't match Pantones that they have, not to worry about it. And I did this for the 3 designs that I wanted to get done, except for Dewdrop, because Dewdrop was very, very, very difficult to Pantone for. So I literally just wrote, unsure about best Pantones for this design. I trust you will know what is the best match. Which is something that we will talk about a little bit later in this video, but I did not do Pantones for Dewdrop. I did Pantones for Rocher and for Nougat, who is this little guy right here, and I'm really happy with these turnarounds. I think they came out super, super cute, but the turnarounds were not the only thing that I sent as part of this tech pack. I also sent a list of materials that I thought I would want the snooze to be made out of, what parts of the body I wanted it to be made out of. I kept fighting to have this cheek definition be properly plush, but you will see later on that that is just not something that could happen. So I sent these ones for Rocher and Dewdrop, and Nougat actually got some slightly different materials because I want him to be a lot fluffier than the other 2 snooze. So, but everything else that he has on his sheet is basically the same. It's just some different materials. And I made sure to get the photos of the materials from my manufacturer's Alibaba page, looking at examples of like previous plush toys that they had made, because I wanted to make sure that the material I was asking for was material that they had in-house already. So that's not something you have to do, that's just something that I did. And then on top of these material sheets, I also sent them some inspiration photos of some of the plush toys that I personally already own, that I thought would be a really good indicator for what I wanted. As you can see, the ears are like properly what's it called? They have proper stuffing. I sent them a Shinx, an Eevee, a Turtwig, and it's not on the sheet, but I sent them a video of this sitting cutie as well, because as you can see, the cheek fluff is like properly stuffed. It's not like a little side piece. And originally I really, really, really wanted the cheeks to be stuffed with fluff. So I sent them all of this in the tech pack, and then I also sent them a video and some photos of this sitting cutie to explain what I meant when I said I wanted the cheeks to have stuffing, because English is not the first language of these people on Alibaba, and so I really, really wanted to make sure that I got my point across visually, just in case some of the words and the verbiage that I was using kind of fell flat. So I sent my tech pack over, and they basically revised it with their design engineers, and they created their own version of what they think it would look like, and kind of broke it down a little bit more just so that it was a bit easier for the designers to understand. As you can see, they've used some of the photos that I gave them to kind of reference what each part is going to look like, and I'm really glad that they showed me this before they started making the plushies, because as you can see, my designs are not exactly like plush friendly. This is just my art style, and so seeing it kind of simplified into plush form was really, really cool. And they didn't just do it for Rocher, they did it for all of my snooze. So they kind of simplified a lot of the shapes, making sure that it was very easy for them to kind of determine what the stitching pattern was going to be. And unfortunately, I can't read Chinese, so I can't say for certain what they're saying in these annotations, but with the visual references, you can kind of see where they're putting together, like what needs to be made out of what material. And it looked pretty good to me. I gave it the thumbs up, and they went ahead and they started making some samples. This was the first picture they ever sent me. It was a work in progress picture of Dewdrop, and he looks really good so far, but as you can see, there's already a couple of problems. Like, the antennae are stuffed like I wanted, but the cheeks are not. They're just really, like, they're just like little thin bits of fabric, and he's also way darker than he's supposed to look. But because this was a work in progress, they told me that the colors would not be the final colors that they used. They were just trying to get the base together. And get the base together they did. This is the very first sample of Dewdrop that I got. He looks fucking adorable, but as you can see, there's a couple of mistakes already. He's supposed to have 6 legs, not 4. There's no like patterning on the wings. It's just plain solid blue wings. Same with his antenna. And once again, even though we had discussed this previously, he was the wrong fur color. They did also, for whatever reason, attach his chest fluff to his face and not his chest. So from certain angles, it looks like he's got a beard. And I brought this all up with them. I'm not going to show the messages, just in case. But I did tell them that I wanted these things fixed up. And eventually, we got the second sample. This is also only Dewdrop's sample. They didn't send me samples for Rocher or Nougat at this point in time. It was just Dewdrop, because I think Dewdrop was the more complicated of the 3 designs. Wow, I didn't realize how small these pictures they sent me were. So this is the second sample of Dewdrop that we've got. It looks much better. He's got the 6 legs. He's got the appropriate striping on his legs. He's got the patterning on his wings. But again, only problem, he's a bit too dark. Like, these aren't the correct colors for him. So again, I let them know, and in every single iteration of samples, I told them, like, hey, these colors are too dark. We need to make them lighter. So just keep that in mind. We also got our first looks at Rocher and Nougat. Rocher was probably the one with the least amount of concerns that I had. Looking at these samples, he looks really great, but I wanted the spotting to be moved down a little bit on his leg. This straight line kind of made him look a bit like a Pokeball. I wanted it to be a bit more curved. The antennae were a bit too small, and again, the cheeks weren't stuffed. They're just like flat bits of fur. And from the front, it looked like his eyes were also a little bit too small. So these were all things that I mentioned in the edits for Rocher. Nougat was an interesting case. Obviously, his tail is going to be different to the other Snuus because he's got 2 colors, so they kind of have to wrap the fabric in around itself. And it was mostly really, really good. But the main problem, aside from the chest fluff being attached to the chin again instead of the neck, I'm not sure why they do that, but the main problem was that even though he looked absolutely adorable, he was made out of the wrong fur. I had put in my sample that I wanted Nougat to be fluffier than the other Snuus, and he was supposed to be made out of a different type of fluff entirely. And I mentioned that to them, and you'll see what they ended up doing to fix this. But those were the notes that I had for Nougat. And so this time, instead of just giving them verbal indications of what I wanted fixed, I also took the pictures that they sent me and annotated over them. So I wanted the tail to be bigger, I wanted the fluff to be attached to the chest instead of the chin, I wanted his fur to be fluffier. I made the same note for Dewdrop. Aside from the color being incorrect, I think this was the only issue I had with Dewdrop. And then I kind of showed them the proportions that I wanted for Rocher as well. I wanted this line to be curved, I wanted the eyes and the antennae to be bigger, I wanted the cheeks stuffed, and I resent them the video of this sitting cutie that I sent them previously. I sent it to them again, pointing out that this was the kind of look that I wanted. Just to make sure that I got the idea across. And then again, also bigger tail, move down the dots, and the chest fluff. And that was all of the notes that I had from these samples. I then received the final videos of the Snuus samples, and look at what they've done to Nougat. He's so fluffy and rugged. I love the stroke of the fluff when they're turning him around. I don't know why they didn't put them on the spinny pedestals like they did for the first sample, and he's just sitting on a desk, but he's sitting on a desk. He's in a real, tangible space, and he is adorable. Dewdrop is also looking pretty nice. The lighting in the room that they sent me makes it look like the fur is lighter than I originally thought it was, but it's still not as light as it needs to be. It's literally my only criticism of Dewdrop is that the colors are incorrect, but everything else about him is absolutely perfect. And finally, my baby boy, Rocher. There were still some things that they did not fix about this sample. As you can see in the cheeks, the line separating the cream color and the brown color is still a straight line and not a curved line. And the cheeks are still not fluffed. They're still just regular bits of fabric with no actual stuffing in the middle. But I talked with the manufacturer and then also with my partner, who has been the biggest help in getting these things designed. And I think we all decided that the non-stuffed cheeks look is just something that we're gonna have to deal with. I would prefer to have them stuffed, but I don't think the manufacturer understands what I'm talking about, even though I've sent them the visuals and I've talked them through it. I don't think they understand. And it doesn't look bad that they're not stuffed. They look adorable just as they are. It was just a personal preference for me. But I think when they put it all together like this, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether the cheeks are stuffed or not. All that matters is that he looks absolutely fucking adorable. I brought up one last time that Dewdrop was not made with the correct colors, and I made sure to tell them that I had mentioned this every single time in the sampling phase, that the colors were too dark. And so this time, they've sent me some pictures of the fur that I could be using instead, and this sample fur looks a lot closer to the colors that I wanted Dewdrop to be made out of. So I gave them the go-ahead to do this. And as of right now, I'm still waiting to see what the Dewdrop sample looks like with these colors. But just based on the pictures, I feel like the fluff that she sent me photos of looks a lot closer to what my precious baby boy looks like. I know it doesn't show up very well on camera, so I might just pop up a photo of him. I think it'll work out really nice. They started mass producing already, so I'm probably going to ask for some progress photos of what Dewdrop is looking like for the sake of the pre-orders, but for the moment, all I've got for the pre-order sample photos are the photos that they have sent me. I tried to ask them if they could send me the samples in the mail, and they told me that that was not an option, that was not feasible, which was a bit of a red flag to me, if I'm being honest. So if I end up working with this company again, I'm either going to have to demand samples or just, find a different manufacturer. I'm really hoping that I don't have to find another manufacturer because these guys were a really, really good deal for what I've gotten, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Hey, Editing Sylv here, just letting you know that as you saw earlier in the video, I actually do have an updated photo of Dewdrop and what he looks like, and as you can see, of course, people start mowing their lawn while I'm recording. Whatever, we're just gonna have to go with it. As you can see, based on the photo and this tech pack that I drew of Dewdrop, I think these colors are a much better match. So he's now officially my favorite plushie that's coming out. I'm so excited. I can't wait for you guys to see him in person. The next step was to work on the tags that would go on the bottom of the plushies. So for example, my Sitting Cutie, they've got this cute little Pokemon Fit tag. It's got all the information on it, and on the inside I think it's just got like some Japanese writing, right? I don't know what that says. I think it's like safety warnings. So I really wanted something kind of like this, but I also wanted to do something similar to that of Squishmallows, where each Squishmallow has its own name and personality. And so this is what the tag for the Snuus is gonna look like. I'm really happy with this. It took me an entire night to come up with because I've never done packaging design before. But I'm really happy with this. This is the outside of the tags. It's really nice and simple. And then on the inside of the tags, you'll get the Snu's name and a really small paragraph about the Snu and what their personality is and how they're all friends with each other. I did one for Rocher, one for Dewdrop, and one for Nougat because those are the 3 Snus that I'm going to be releasing. And this like font that I did, this is not like a custom font or anything. I hand wrote this. And so this bit here, the Snuus, is also going to be on the wash tag. And the wash tag is this thing on the plushies. So I've got the wash tag, which is going to have the Snoo logo on it. And then we've also got the regular tag, which is going to look like this. They showed me samples of what the tags are going to look like when they're all folded up, and I think it looks super cute. I'm really excited to see them. And they also showed me a digital sample of what the Snuus logo is going to look like on the wash tags. And again, really simple, really effective. I enjoy it quite a bit. It looks great. It makes me happy. This is also them showing me where they're going to put the wash tags. So they're going to have the wash tags on the butt, and I think that's really cute. I don't know why it's not a picture of my Snoo, but this picture just brings me so much joy. There's just a tag on this poor plushie's butt. Here's a picture of the wash tag being made. It looks great, all ready for cutting. They sent me this picture sideways, but this is a picture of the tags. Let me see if I can get it the right way up. This is what the tags are gonna look like. They're looking really good. I'm so happy with them. And then we've got a size reference here with like a different tag, but I think they look great. And that brings us to today. I'm currently waiting for the plushies to be shipped. I'm also kind of waiting to see the sample of Dewdrop with the lighter color fur. I'm really hoping that I can get the pictures of those samples really soon because I just want to confirm, make sure everything is all good. But other than that, everything is pretty much ready to go. Originally, I was gonna film myself in the process of making these plushies. Like, I had recorded myself making one of the pages for the Snoo pack, but I went looking and I don't think I have that footage anymore. And while I was in the process of designing the Snuus, I still wasn't sure whether or not I was going to be making studio vlogs or not, so a lot of the process ended up not getting recorded, which does make me a little sad. It makes making this video a little bit harder because I don't get to show you things as they've happened. I just have to kind of recount them for you, which is probably not as entertaining. But if I end up doing this again and I end up making more plushies, which I intend to do, this is only supposed to be wave 1. There's supposed to be multiple waves of Snuus. So if I end up doing this again and I end up making more plushies, I've learnt from my mistake and I'm going to record the entire process as it's happening so that I can make a more entertaining vlog. But regardless, that is all I have for you today. A lot of back and forth with my manufacturer, a lot of like trying to finesse the design of the Snuus. I'm really happy with them. They bring me a lot of joy. The text-to-speech bot, Rocher, that I have in my Twitch streams, the chat loves him, so I'm expecting that one to sell kind of alright. It's the other two that I'm a little bit worried about. But hopefully other people enjoy the Snuus as much as I do because they mean a lot to me, they really do. As I said at the start of the video, by the time you're watching this, the pre-orders for the Snuus have officially gone up. You can get Rocher, Dewdrop, and Nougat all individually, or ideally, you will also be able to get them as a bundle pack for a slight discount if you get all 3 of them. Keep in mind that this pre-order price is a pre-order price, so they're not going to be shipped out right away. And also, once I have all of the inventory, the pre-orders are going down and they're just going to be regular orders, and the price for the regular orders is going to be more expensive. So if you want to save a little bit of money and you want to get these things as soon as I have my hands on them, then I would recommend checking out the pre-order. They will definitely be available on my Etsy store, Restless Dreams. There is a potential that within the next few days, I will create my own original website for the Snuus and the pre-orders will be available up there. If not, and there is no original website, then that probably won't come around until after I have the Snuus and after the pre-orders have closed. But we'll see how we go with that because I'm still debating whether or not I make an original website for them. I'm really scared. I've only ever used Etsy before, so, you know.
But that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. Thank you so much for indulging me in my love and admiration for the Snuus. I'm so excited. I'm probably going to be making a lot of Snoo content. I have some reels that I've got planned where I talk a little bit about Nougat, Rocher, and Dewdrop as individual characters with their own personalities. I also have made a reel on how to make your own Snoo, and once I get the plushies, I'm going to be making so many reels with the plushies. The Snuus are going to become my entire life. But for now, my birthday's in a couple of days. I wasn't supposed to be doing any work this birthday week. You guys have taken up too much of my time today. I'm going to sit down and play some Fire Emblem. Good night, everybody.